Hopefully you can all hear me all right. This is going to be an interesting talk. At Smile, we keep data very safe and secure, so it's a bit unusual for me to think about giving data out and talking about this stuff. And it's also kind of tricky because all the really interesting bits about this we can't really talk about, either because it's commercially sensitive or privacy sensitive, or there are legal ramifications, or we just don't want to let the bad guys know what we know about them. I'll talk a bit about Smile ID if you don't know about us. Lots of people do, but yeah, I'll go through that, and then I'll talk a bit about generative AI and fraud. So let me press that one. Awesome, cool. So lots of good numbers up there. Smile ID, we're the largest identity verification platform in Africa, 100% African coverage. We have access to about 20 different government databases to cover KYC, KYB, all sorts of identity verification of various different flavors. Globally, we cover 8,500 different document types. So we have coverage across 220 odd countries around the world. We do 3 million face verifications a month. I think that figure's accurate. It's 100,000 a day. So we see a lot of beautiful faces coming in. That means we get a lot of data that we can analyze, and we can talk about it. 2-second processing time, or less than 2 seconds. That's something I'm really interested in as Director of Engineering. We try and keep that number as low as possible, which can be challenging. And yeah, we have specially trained machine learning models trained on African faces to do very high accuracy facial recognition. Boom. That talks a bit more about our global coverage. Lots of lovely countries on there. So if you're doing business in any of those countries, come and talk to us. As I said, we're the largest platform in Africa. We hit 200 million verifications in November. I checked this morning. We're up to about 233 million. So we're continuing to accelerate even more. And like I say, that's a lot of data that we track. Lots of lovely logos. You probably recognize some of those. We have big customers, we have small customers. We are very focused on Africa. So if you're an African startup, come and talk to us. We have really good pricing, and we don't have any sort of minimum monthly fee to use us. It's all per API call, which is why a lot of those companies have stuck with us for a long time, and we've grown as they've grown. And again, lots of different industries. Come and talk to us. Whatever your identity verification needs, we can help you out. So let's get into the fun stuff. Fraud, it's changing. This is the kind of stuff we saw perhaps a few years ago. Pictures on phones, pictures of people that weren't actually there. And for us, we detected that, we stopped that. Fair enough. We blanked out the faces because these are actually people, and we are very focused on privacy and protecting people. Even if these are fraudulent attempts, we will blank them out. What we started to see and predicted last year that we'd started to see and came to truth was that generative AI would start to become more and more prevalent. So we released a couple of weeks ago our 2025 fraud report. Please go on the website and download it. There's lots more information in there. I'm going to talk a bit about some of it, but there's lots of pages. So we got it sort of like an evolution, you can see there. And we start to see more recently face manipulation, face swaps, generative AI, because the bad actors, the people out there who are trying to do money laundering, people trying to take over accounts, people trying to defraud the system, they're getting more sophisticated because we stop them, and then they try new stuff. So yes, 7-fold increase from Q2 to Q4 last year. So it went up 7 times. I think there was some statistic I saw earlier that 34% of African companies have seen generative AI attacks. There was an article I read this morning about how universities in Britain who are remotely interviewing candidates to come on their course have seen a rise in generative AI usage, where people try and pretend to be someone else to get on a course to come to Britain, to come to uni. So yeah, it's out there, it's only going to get worse. These people are not real. I think it's crazy, but you can go to those websites. If you want to, please do. Click on it. It generates a person who doesn't exist. They are picture-perfect people, but they're completely made up, they're completely imaginary, they do not exist. And obviously, the Trump-Musk hybrid is very fake. It took me less than 5 seconds. Went online, found a website, uploaded 2 pictures, done. So you can see it's very easy for people to start to do this stuff, and for people to start to do this stuff at scale. So these are some of real examples that we've seen where, again, these people aren't real, or it's a picture of a real person, and the fraudsters, the bad actors, have manipulated them to make it look like they are real, they are living, they are in front of a phone, in front of a device, to try and authenticate to gain access to an account. But again, we have systems and methods to stop this. Obviously, a big clue, the bottom one has Magic Hour watermarked all over it. Magic Hour is an AI face swap service that you can use. You could say, oh, it's just easy. Anything with a watermark, you just block as fraud. Unfortunately, there are some phones, old Android phones, which will watermark every one of the photos they take or videos they take. So we have to be a bit more intelligent about it. But we have techniques and things to try and catch this. So how do we do that? This is where it gets tricky, because I can't talk in detail about all the things we do, because if we just said in detail all the things we do, then the fraudsters and the bad actors would do all the stuff to get around that. So I counted up, and there are 20-ish plus layers of different types of request validation we do to ensure that that request is valid, it's a real person, it's who they say they are, it's not someone trying to attack or get into an account, it's not a fraud, it's not a deep fake, all this sort of stuff. And we employ what we call the Swiss cheese model, where a valid request has to come in our systems and go through all the holes, all the way through, for it to be valid. And each layer in the Swiss cheese is providing a gateway or a stopgap to detect something about that request, to make sure it's valid, make sure it's a real person, make sure it is who they say they are, to make sure it's a valid request. And the good thing about that is, when we see fraud, when one of our layers of Swiss cheese stops it, we can look at that, and we can look at everything else about that request and see which one of our other layers would have stopped it if that thing hadn't. And so we know that that thing is fraudulent, so we can retrain, and we can rework every other layer of the Swiss cheese to stop that fraud in the future if the bad actor, if the fraudsters change their attack method, tweak what they're doing, send us slightly different data so that we still stop it. What else is important? We are ISO 30107-3 certified. That's very technical, but really important. It took us a long time to get it. It's the gold standard in biometric authentication. You have to go to a testing lab, and they have to try and break your biometric authentication. To get certified, you need to let through less than 5% of their attempts. We got 0%, which means we didn't let through any of them. So we like to think we're pretty good at it. What else? We do this all the time. We're constantly doing this. We have internal communications where we talk, this is a new attack, this is a new attack, this is a new attack. Let's think about how we can stop that if it got out in the wild. We look ahead. We are predicting and thinking about what the bad actors are doing before they do it. Because there's no point necessarily us saying, oh, all this fraud got let through 3 months ago. Let's stop it now, because that's 3 months worth of fraud where that happens. What else do we do? we go after the bad guys. This is a recent investigation example. When was this? A couple of months ago, I noticed on one of our daily reports about stuff we blocked, there was something slightly odd in the data. Again, I can't tell you what it was because it gives the fraudsters a reason to not do this stuff anymore, and we want them to keep doing it so we can keep doing this, which led me to discover a global fraud ring. They had Telegram channels, they had GitHub repos, they had file repositories. We went and found all of this stuff. They were selling their services. So you could go onto Telegram, you could pay them money in Bitcoin to use their generative AI tools to get into accounts. These were accounts of banks and fintechs in Nigeria, Singapore, Germany, Switzerland, the US, and the UK. So we ended up talking to Interpol and the FBI, Nigerian financial authorities, Swiss financial authorities, everyone to say, we found this stuff, guys. Now it's up to you to go and prosecute and stop these guys. Yeah, we obviously, finding this, it enabled us to improve our Swiss cheese even more because we can see exactly what they're doing, how they're attacking. They were talking quite openly about it in these private channels. And yeah, so at peak, I think last time I measured, we blocked sort of 3 million fraud attempts in a 12-hour period. So you can see these are large-scale operations where they are constantly trying to break into people's accounts, constantly trying to do money laundering, do all these illegal things which we want to stop for our customers. So where is it going? What is the stuff we're predicting this year? It's going to increase in volume. That 3 million in 12 hours is nothing. We're seeing it get more and more, but our systems are stopping it. We're quite good at scaling. Like say, stopping 3 million attempts in 12 hours we did that with no sweat. It's going to be more widespread. You're going to see it on more different surfaces, more different ways that people access their accounts. It's going to get higher quality. Say that trend line of going from a cardboard cutout or a picture on someone's phone to trying to do some simple facial manipulation. It's now doing full-on video, 3D of people looking like they're real, looking like they're smiling, waving, laughing, doing stuff at higher resolution, faster, quicker. That's just going to get worse. It's an arms race. And we need to be at the forefront of that to stop them. And because GPU price is going down, availability goes up, technology is improving. Just look at DeepSeek. Chinese produce a model that can match what OpenAI are doing at 1/100th of the cost. The fraud rings, the fraudsters are going to just keep doing this stuff. It's going to make it more and more available to them. So yes, if you're interested in stopping fraud, come and talk to us. We are Smile ID. We are at the booth just over there. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them, but I realize I have waffled long enough and talked quite quickly through this, which is probably good from a timekeeping point of view. Yeah. Any questions? Oh, awesome. Thank you, guys.